Hello, everyone, and welcome to Off the Wall. My name is Sol, and I got a special guest with me today, Josh. And we're going to
Hey,
be talking about Agatha All Along. But first off, Josh, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Finally getting back on this. Thanks for inviting me back on this channel. We've always had some fun in the past, and I look forward to having some fun talking about Agatha.
Let's do it. Let's do it. I want to start off here. What are your non-spoiler thoughts of the first two episodes that we received by Disney Plus?
It, it always kills me how good Catherine Hahn is. Like every time she's like, I'm like, oh yeah, it's Catherine Hahn, and then I watch, I'm like, dang, she nails it every daggone time. And also, but that being said, there's a lot of questions. There's a lot more questions than answers in this. There's a little bit of plot holes that it just irked me a little bit. Maybe I just overlooked it. Maybe they said it, but overall, it's been a fun start.
Yeah, I would agree with you that Catherine Hahn, she's amazing, and she's one of those comedic actors that can also like act those serious moments, and like she can act being sad really well,
Hmm.
which we'll get into that when we go into our spoiler review. But I really enjoyed this. This was witchy, this was kooky, this was giving a lot of like Halloween Town and like those old hocus pocus kind of just funny, not too serious, but still like has some scary moments here and there, but still kind of fun. So I really enjoyed these two episodes. I got some questions. Hopefully they get answered. Me and Disney Plus, our problem is the final episodes of seasons. I typically like a lot of what they put out until the last episode, and then I'm like, okay, now I can judge the whole season.
Right.
And a lot of last episodes have not stuck the landing for me. So I do hope that it does stick the landing for me with Agatha All Along. But I have some excitement for this, unlike some of the other Disney Plus shows that have come up because of Catherine Hahn.
Yeah, just that's the thing was like someone was asking me, like, so he's like, did you watch Agatha? I was like, yeah. I was like, what do you think? I'm like, it's just Catherine Hahn pulls you right in.
Mm-hmm.
She has that about her and her presence
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that, and the fact that she can just act all over the room and not like eating scenery. Now there's a couple of
Mm-hmm.
times that she did, but I think it called for her to do it. We'll get
Mm-hmm.
into with our spoilers. But and also too, I was like watching the show and I'm like, I swear to you that this character, they're like, we need like an Aubrey Plaza type, and someone's like, why don't you just get Aubrey Plaza to do it?
Right.
Like her character is literally just Aubrey Plaza.
Yeah. And we got some legends too. We got Deborah Jo Rupp, we got
Hmm.
Patti LuPone, and they're also doing amazing jobs in the show so far. So I really enjoyed it. But let's get into spoilers.
Hmm.
So we start off episode one kind of following WandaVision and the TV sitcom,
Hmm.
but this time we're going more crime thriller TV show, kind of those HBO True Detective, uh, Dexter, kind of those cop crime procedurals. And it's titled Agnes of Westview, based off of the Danish show uh,
That was a good play.
Wanda like Vision or
On the
something.
visual, I can't do it. I don't know. Someone out there with a Danish accent, you can do it better than we can.
Right, exactly. Um, but Agatha is playing the character Agnes O'Connor, a
Hmm.
police detective who is fixated on a Jane Doe murder case. We never get to see the face of this Jane Doe, but we do see the black fingers that remind us of Darkhold users. And we get references to the Darkhold, we get references to Wanda Maximoff. So, my first question, do you think Jane Doe is Wanda? Did she die, or is this a misdirect?
It's a little bit of it's a misdirect because if you listen to her and Herb as they're walking to the body, and he basically was saying, at the end of Doctor Strange, where she gets basically crushes herself, and he was like, it's crushed, blah blah blah. Like he kind of explains, and then But she says he was like, so is she dead? He goes, oh, yeah, she's dead. She goes, yeah, you never know. Like, and she winks at him. So it's basically just like we're not saying she is because there's still a lot of money to be made with Wanda's character. So we're not going to kill her off. Because as we know, even the same actress can come back as a different character, as we know with Downey going on right now. But yeah, in this situation, because it's in her head, and that's how they were bringing her out. But to answer your question, she's not dead.
Yeah, I don't think she's dead, but I feel like because it is playing in her mind that was actually not actually her real body in like I'm forgetting the actress's name. Oh my gosh.
Elizabeth Olsen.
Elizabeth Olsen, there we go. I don't think that was Elizabeth Olsen's body, but I do think that was Wanda Maximoff's body just in Agatha's head.
And I think we will see Elizabeth Olsen at some point during this series with how they are tying it so close to WandaVision.
And then we have a teen that we don't know the name of, helps to break Agatha out of the curse that's holding her in this TV land. But you get a little bit help from Aubrey Plaza's character. What did you think of the introduction of both the teen and Aubrey Plaza's character, Ria Vidal, and how Agatha went through all of her old selves, just pulling off all the clothes from WandaVisions? We get to see all the WandaVision decade outfits when she's coming out of the spell. So your thoughts on those three things?
So we still don't know what he was trying to steal from her house. That's like that's another one when I was talking about plot holes. That was the first one. I was like, so what was he stealing? Because she broke into her house and he ran, and then that was it. And then she locked him up in her house / holding cell because of where her mind was.
Mm-hmm.
And then if Aubrey Plaza's character, I'm still confused, and I think she used to be her old girlfriend. I think
I think that too.
Because she hates her, but she's trying to help her at the same time. Like as we go into their fight scene together, you can tell she was just getting out some frustration while also warning her, because she doesn't, she still cares for her, even though, just on that.
The thin line of love and hate.
Yes, exactly. It's a thin line of love and hate, which I don't. And I looked it up. This is a character they created for the show. This isn't a Marvel character that they brought in. Obviously, they were alluding to her, not Mrs. Hart, to be there. And at first, I finally came around on it on why she was just going along with everything. But that's not the question right now. But yeah, that was the biggest thing. Of she knew that those 6, I don't know what's the name of them that's coming after.
Salem 7.
The Salem 7. So she knew that she was, so that's why she came to help her and to free her. And I don't think the teen, we'll know later on. I have my theory on who the teen is, and I've seen other theories online kind of doing the same thing, that it's one of Wanda's kids from the old show. But I don't think she wants to beat the crap out of her, but she don't want to see her die. It's kind of the thing. But the fact that he was the one that brought her out of it, I don't know. That's where I'm like questioning. I'm like, Aubrey kind of brought her out, but they have no correlation, but yet they showed up at the same time. Like, so you're telling me? I think that question's going again. Just a question I have. Like right now, it's a plot hole, but I think that's a hole you can fill.
To me, I don't really think the teen and what he's stealing is that much of a plot hole. I think, and we'll get into like later, because like we're not able to hear his him give his name, and then later in episode 2 when we get to that, he not able to speak his past story. Like he speaks, but we can't hear, but we hear like the beginning of the sentence, like I grew up in Eastview. So I think he knows about Agatha. He's kind of like obsessed with her and her different eras, as he spoke about when she's out of the spell. And I think for him it was just like, oh, I need to find her, I need to get her out of the spell. And then once we find out who he actually is, it's going to make more sense on why he was getting her out of the spell. So to me, it's not really a plot hole. It's just the beginning of his story.
Right. Right. And at first, I thought, I'm glad you brought that up. At first, when she was wanting to know his name and it had the squiggles across, I thought he was like, I was like, is this kind of like a Rumpelstiltskin character? Because he really couldn't, like, I just got a Rumpelstiltskin vibe from that, or like a Beetlejuice, which is a play off of Rumpelstiltskin, of him not being able to say his name or something like that. But then I really like that scene when he was going to his past and she couldn't hear, and then she started snapping, so you could hear her snapping, and like she rolls the window down, so you're like, okay, this is different.
Turns the radio on,
yeah, but she was snapping, and she turns the radio on, but she still couldn't hear him. So I think it's just, like I said, I think it's Wanda's kid.
Yeah, I think it's an amalgamation. We'll get into theories later. But going on, we have Agatha finds out that she has been trapped for 3 years, and that her powers are gone, and that Rio Vidal wants to kill her. Agatha convinces Rio Vidal to spare her, and Vidal warns Agatha of the Salem 7. And the teen is tied up in her closet, so she basically kidnapped him.
Right.
So what do you think of the fight scene between Aubrey Plaza and Kathryn Hahn? I know you spoke a little bit about it, but we'll getting more into that fight scene and the overall ending of the episode, and us seeing a little bit of Kathryn Hahn booty.
Yeah. It was kind of cool at first, but like, here's the thing: is here's the pro and con of what they're doing. Because if you didn't watch WandaVision, you'd be really, really lost right now. Like, just straight up, if you just go into the show and be like, watch this, and they're like, I have no clue what's going on, but I know they're witches. Like, that's
you need to watch WandaVision, and I feel like you need to watch Multiverse of Madness to understand.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. Like, that's where the pro and con comes in, because like, pro-wise, it makes people, if it's a good enough show, they want to get intrigued with, and they're like, oh, so I've got to go back and watch the other content. So it brings people more into it, and next thing you know, it snowballs into them just getting wrapped up in the MCU, right? So that's the pro of it. The con of it is someone you've lost them from the start because you're already confusing the crap out of them, and you can lose casual audiences because you're getting too sweaty, as some would say, in that. So that's the con of it. But I mean, obviously for us who've followed along with it, we're all on board because of how they're continuing with the characters from WandaVision in that town, and how it matches up. The only thing I also want to know is who else checked out the Darkhold. Like, there's a lot of dates.
And that's one thing that I was thinking about as well. And one of my questions is, you have a lot of dates there. On the last one's Wanda Maximoff, who checked out the book. Before that is Agatha, who had the Darkhold before. Was the Darkhold like something that she stole from someone else as well? Like, who had it right before her? Like, even if we don't get all of the names, I wonder if we're going to find out who had the Darkhold right before Agatha. And if we're going to find out if there was something between where Agatha had to choose the Darkhold or like Rio, and she chose the Darkhold, and then that's why Rio Vidal is like pissed off and wants to kill her. Right. So that's me making up a story in my head. Whether it comes true or not, I'm not going to be angry if it doesn't, but because that happens too a lot with fans, is they create a backstory in their head, and then when that doesn't happen, they're like, how dare you?
Mephisto in WandaVision, people are like, oh darn, we didn't get Mephisto. And I'm like, I mean, you shouldn't have set yourself up for that. You should just enjoy the show as it happens. But the questions that you present also can make things better. So it's a very hard. That's where the writer's room, where I'm saying, like, tip of the cap if they nail it, because it creates questions. But if it doesn't pay off the way you want it, then you're underwhelmed. But if at least it does its job to an extent, we're like, okay, it didn't get me what I wanted, but it still did well enough. That's the tricky part.
And sometimes it gives you something better than what you expected. And sometimes it gives you something way worse. And we will see what happens with the show.
All I know is these 2 episodes are way 10 times better than Secret Wars ever was. That was terrible.
But going into episode 2, do you have any final thoughts on episode 1?
Yeah, so it definitely was a good launching point because I like the way too. Again, this is why it's basically WandaVision 1.5, right?
Right.
Because it's not technically it's season 2 or whatever, but it was still a carryover from the themes of what WandaVision was. So it started out as like her still being caught in a television show, which is a play on Kate Winslet's Mayor of Easttown. That's the whole Agatha of Westwick. So it's Mayor of Easttown, and she kind of has that same type of character. So it's still her being stuck in the show. So she's and when she comes out of her layers, it's showing her breaking how far she was down the rabbit hole of what
Hmm.
Wanda was doing to her. So she was still stuck in that television show, and this is finally her breaking out of it and going on her own journey and walking down the yellow brick road, which we'll get to. If you notice with the caution tape at the
Yeah,
beginning,
we've got a lot of references to that movie
yeah.
in both episodes. So it is kind of funny.
Oh yeah,
There
she did
was,
call him Toto.
but not even that. To the almost certainly nearly dead.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like at the beginning, if I'm probably not quoting that exactly correct, but there was like little moments that I'm like, wait a second, while watching. But going on to episode 2, the team convinces Agatha to help him travel the Witch's Road, where she can kind of restore her powers because right now she's powerless and she's not happy about it. She wants to get her purple back. Um, Anytime the teen speaks his name or talks about his backstory, which we referenced a little earlier, Agatha isn't able to hear him, snaps her finger, turns on the radio. She can hear everything else, but she can't hear him. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Kill Bill and how you don't know what the bride's name is until much later they beep it out. So I was getting a little bit of that vibes with his name. Uh, so go here. You already kind of gave your answer here, but do you have any other theories on who you think the teen might be?
I mean, uh, he just can't be some random fan. Like you don't call him Teen and keep his backstory off if it's not Wanda Maximoff's kid. So again, he might just be he might just be Mephisto the whole time because if you look, the kind of squiggles over an M over his face. But I am not doing it.
Mephisto confirmed.
Mephisto's never gonna happen. So quit trying to make it happen. And so until she's not Wanda's kid and he is Mephisto and just wanting to just toy with her the whole time, which again I don't think it is. But that's where I'm sticking with it, and I don't think Mephisto exists in the MCU. I think they somehow or another like A24 owns the rights to Mephisto at this point, um, or New Line Cinema. So
I think it's her kid. I think it's Nicholas Scratch.
it could be. It definitely
Yeah.
could be Nicholas Scratch. Some people
And
thought
then
the bunny was Nicholas Scratch
yeah,
because she named.
especially I think the bunny, she named the bunny after her son. I don't think the bunny is her son. And apparently there was a scene that was cut from WandaVision where like the bunny is actually like this bigger monster thing, and that attacked the twins boys, Wanda's kids, in the show, that they just cut that for time. But for me, I think it's her son, and I think it might be her son, but that ends up going by the name Billy Kaplan,
Mm-hmm.
who is Wanda's kid, and so. But I think it's Nicholas Scratch, especially when she's like opening up her locket. Like at first she's like, "Screw this kid, I'm not taking him down the witch's road." But then when she like opens the locket and looks at the hair, which I think is the hair of her son, um, that's when she decides, okay, I'm gonna take him along. So I think there's either he's her son or he reminds her of her son. So I think there's something a play there with Nicholas Scratch with this kid.
Part of me thinks it also theory is that piece of hair might be Aubrey Plaza's, and that's why they're always connected
Maybe.
with that. Again, that's why I like these first 2 episodes, is because they've got my attention. That's basically what it is. Like, the overall
Mhm.
thoughts is they have my attention, which is a lot more
And
than I can
got
say
you
for.
making theories.
Yeah. So far this show is doing what it's supposed to do at this point. Just please no filler episodes, for the love of God. You only have all these budget, and then you're just gonna have them like sit around a campfire and shoot the breeze. Like, no, just can we just go along the witch's road? And which I
Which
didn't
banger of
realize.
a song, by the way.
Oh yeah, that was cool. And I just like how Mrs. Hart just like, I'm just happy to be here.
Right? Deborah Jo Rupp, she's so
Oh,
good.
she's awesome.
And then kind of the rest of the episode is them getting a coven, because to go down the witch's road, which is plural apostrophe,
Hmm.
that you have to have a coven to go down the witch's road, the yellow brick road. And they finally get each of the people that is going to be part of their coven. They don't get Rio Vidal, Aubrey Plaza, who is the Black Heart, is supposed to be that Green Witch, and they end up getting Deborah Jo Rupp to be the Green Witch. I guess she's witchy enough in a 3-mile radius, as Agatha put it when she's speaking to the teen. So, what did you think of them getting the different witches, and which one's your favorite?
My favorite is easily Lilia Caldero. I mean, she was awesome. Of just like, she's playing with it, knowing who she is, and
Mhm.
then and also too, I like of like each one. It's like our powers combined, we can create Mephisto. Like, I just feel like that. Like, like they look like the Power Rangers. Like, one's purple, one's yellow, one's green. Like, it's just one's pink. It's kind of weird how that happened. And then and the teen is Alpha 5. There you go. There you go. There's your Power Rangers reference when we talk about Agatha. There you go. I did it.
Nerd.
Talking about Agatha all along. We're all in this together, nerds. Okay. And then, but I'm more intrigued of the Alice Wu character,
Mhm.
because we know she's a daughter of a cop, or she was a cop, or something like that.
She's the daughter of a witch who was part of a band that's made the Witches Road song, and that she was a former cop.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, it just and but they all have certain that's the one thing I did like about this, is like, it's your typical, like, we got to get the gang together because each one does something really well.
Mm-hmm.
Patty LaPont's character, did I pronounce that right? Lilia Caldero? Is that how you pronounce it?
Um, I'm
Anyway,
assuming
let's just
so.
say Patty LaPont's character. There we go.
Yeah.
So with hers, like, she's clairvoyant, and she's kind of like That's So Raven. Like, she just gets hit with a vision and stuff like that. And then Shashir Zamata's Jennifer Kale. Um, really don't know what's her specific
I think she's
power.
potions or something like that.
I forgot what it was. And then Alice Wu's, like, again, we really don't know exactly what their thing is. And then of course Aubrey Plaza, she's got the green thumb for whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Which, well, they have. The only thing is here's another plot hole: is like, you need all of them to summon the Witch's Road, which we didn't see Aubrey Plaza, but we know that Aubrey Plaza is always attached to Agatha. So part of me thinks Aubrey was still there to manifest that when they were singing it.
I don't think so. I think that you just need someone who is witchy enough to play that role, and Deborah Jo Rupp has a green thumb, so she's I guess witchy enough, and maybe we'll find out whether she actually has powers or not that she didn't even know she had. And so I think she was enough for them to open the door. I don't know if they will come across Rio Vidal on the Witches Road, how long will be on the Witches Road, because one thing I did like is we started off with the TV thing, but we weren't there for long. They were like, okay, we're not going to do the WandaVision thing where we're here for several episodes before we go to real life. They went through that real quick, which I think was the smart move. So I don't know how long they're going to be on the Witches Road for. And that could be something where you could grow tired of it if they extend it too long or they don't fill it with a good story.
Hmm.
So that's going to be interesting to see how long they're there. But I really don't think that Rio Vidal had anything to do with them getting in there. She just was the one who warned about the Salem 7.
Yeah. I looked into Salem 7. I'm not going to go into it. I'm just I got more confused just reading about the Salem 7. And the fact it's like the Salem 7 and like again, I look at it as a casual viewer, much less a person that, watches
Mm-hmm.
all those like, Easter egg shows
Right.
on that, and it's basically like no, the sinister Salem. I'll call them the sinister six, from Spider-Man. You see what happens when you're too nerdy and deep dive into it. You get your evil factions mixed up. But no, the Salem 7. I just like how they said it's Salem 7. And Ari was like, "Oh dang, Salem 7, that sounds crazy." And then they show up, and they're like, "Yeah, there are pretty."
Which, when they showed up, I freaking laughed out loud with Herb. I forget
Yeah.
what his like real character's name is, but his fake character's name from WandaVision is Herb, and like he's like looking at them. He's like, "Whoa, that's crazy! You seeing that?" They do the, and he's just
Yeah.
like, "And I'm out of here. Bye bye."
And I like how like each character that's been dealing with the WandaVision stuff, like what Wanda did to them, and that's why I think Deborah Jo Rupp's character, because that's another thing where I was like, why would she just go along with it and like all this witchcraft and stuff? And she already like suffered enough trauma, but they do it in the most subtle way of why she's going along with it is because she's lonely as hell and
Yeah,
just
her
wants
husband
to
passed
just hang
away.
out, right? And that the way they did that was like, well, my husband passed away, and we're like, all right. And then she thinks she'd be scared, and she just like, I'm finally just hanging out with other people,
Mm-hmm.
and they invited me here. Like it feels like she's just like
A party.
a party, and stuff like that. So with her saying that her husband passed away, you can just tell just by that couple lines that
Mm-hmm.
you realize why she's just going with the flow, because she wants adventure. She's been just basically
Mm-hmm.
doing the same routine over and over again, and just part of her is missing because of her husband
Mm-hmm.
being passed away. So when she's like, "Oh, I finally get to be part of something," and
Yeah.
so she's like, "Let's do it. Might as well." And she's always hesitant because she's always like, "I'm confused. I don't know what's going on, but
I
I'm
don't do
in."
drugs.
Right. She's like, I'm in, but let's, I'm going
Yeah.
with the flow. Which Deborah Jo Rupp, I'm like, don't just have her there for 4 seconds. Like you got
Mm-hmm.
to utilize when you got Deborah Jo Rupp.
Yeah, I'm glad that we're getting more of her than we did in WandaVision, because when I saw her in WandaVision, I'm like, oh yay!
Yeah.
And we saw too that she was almost not going to go through and then she heard the Salem 7. She's like, okay, I'm going through. Like, this
Right.
is the better decision to stick with you guys than to be with those crazies up there in the house. Which we're going to go into the teen barricades the door that's no longer there because of Aubrey Plaza, with the couch. He's kind of just like, yeah, this will work, and then sits in a chair by the window to wait to see what happens. And then we get one of the hands of the Salem 7 going through, which I think we're just using their name from the comic books. I don't think we're actually any of their comic book story. I don't think is actually going to be in this show, because I've never read them before, but I was seeing a little bit about them and I was like, yeah, I don't think that's going to be their backstory in the show. I think they're just one of those things of the MCU, like, I'm going to just take this name because it sounds cool, but we're going to give them our own backstory. Hand goes through the window. He screams. He's yelling for Agatha.
Right. Yeah.
And they go through. They take their shoes off. They're down the yellow brick road, the witch's road. So what did you think of the ending? What did you think of the song? What did you think of the Salem 7?
The Agatha All Along song has been stuck in my head, much less that song. That was so good there. So you got earworms, so that you did good there. The other thing is that I really liked is it made sense on why every single one of them who hates Agatha's guts is going along with it, is
Mm-hmm.
because they're down on their dumps just as much as
Mm-hmm.
everyone else, and they pointed it out. Whereas Palapon's character, she's foreclosed upon, and you can tell that she's
About to be
starving
evicted.
because as soon as, and that was another little subtlety that I liked about the writing, is he was like, well, it's like outdated granola bars. It's all I have. And she was like, whatever, because she's just starving
Mm-hmm.
because she's poor. Um, and then Shashir's Jennifer Kale's character with the candles, she's getting sued. You know, she's basically like treading water. And then Alice Wu just got fired, so it's not like she has anything else to do. So
And she also wants to find out about her mother too.
right, right. So it may, and then plus again, Deborah Jo Rupp's character, Mrs. Hart, she finally has somebody to hang out with and,
Mm-hmm.
and go on an adventure. And who doesn't want to go on an adventure no matter what it takes? And plus, you know, she's already knows how witches exist, obviously.
Right.
She's already been a part of it. And she gets to go along with it and not be a victim or you know, I can't think of the word. But anyway,
Mm-hmm.
A hostage. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
there it is. A hostage. So, but yeah, with them going down the road, I'm just wondering how many, because she already called. He's my pet, and then she called him Toto. So like we've
Mm-hmm.
already established that. You know, she's Dorothy because for 3 years she's lost her way. She's trying to get back home. So down on the Witch's Road, which we think some people have claimed that she's already gone down. That's how she got in hold of the Darkhold and got her powers. Really became that bigger power on that. But like, who's the Cowardly Lion? Who's the Tin Man? Who's the Scarecrow?
Mm-hmm.
Like, who are those other characters? Because they have been hit, like you were saying, they've been hitting heavy on the whole overarching theme. Is a play on the Wizard of Oz?
Mm-hmm.
So we already got the color schemes.
Yeah, and I think each of them are a character. I have to do a bigger deep dive into who I think is which, who is the
Right.
Cowardly Lion, who's the Tin Man. But any final thoughts on these 2 episodes and any final predictions for the rest of the show?
So I'm trying to think back on the other series that Disney Plus. So finally, we're not getting like 2 Disney Plus shows a year
Mm-hmm.
on this, but this is the first time I've been excited to see where it goes since Loki season 2. So
Yeah, same.
So it's already got me there.
Marvel and Star Wars, to be honest.
Yeah. So the last time I cared about a Star Wars show was obviously Bad Batch. Like that, they just did that really well. But yeah, Loki season 2, like from that first 2 episodes or whatever, I'm like, you got me. Like everything, I'm in. But like Secret Wars, I'm like, you know, and just the other series they came out with. Miss Marvel was fun, but this is the mystery of it, and it's new characters, and all characters mean something. And Catherine Hahn is getting her chance to actually lead a show, which is rare in her career, which is kind of crazy when you think about it.
Yeah.
But as far as where it goes, I think we're gonna get Wanda Maximoff. It wouldn't be surprised if we do some Doctor Strange references throughout it. So anytime there's magic involved, Doctor Strange is going to be a part of it in some way or fashion. I don't know if Benedict Cumberbatch is actually going to show up, but I definitely think we're going to see Elizabeth Olsen. I think this is the introductory. And long story short, I think this will be the introductory to to the Young Avengers, because we already got Miss Marvel and Hawkeye. I forget her name.
Kate Bishop.
Kate Bishop. We already got those 2 kind of connected. And then if
the Black Widow, Yelena Belova.
Yeah, you got Yelena, and then, well, no, that's.
I mean, technically Spidey and Miss Marvel.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Miss Marvel is already, her and Kate Bishop already kind of that after credit scene, so they already did appear together there at the end of, was it Marvels, right? That was one of the post credit scenes, I believe.
Yeah, and then we had the Yelena Belova was in the Hawkeye show. So yeah, I think we are building towards Young Avengers as well. So, and it'll be interesting to see when that actually starts off, because these these adults that are playing these characters kind of look like kids, but they're not going to look like kids for that much longer.
Right.
So it's going to be the 30-year-old Avengers.
Right. It's going to be basically it's like the new Avengers, because they can't call them Young Avengers. They just call them, unless technology, you know, and you get the whatever, the deep fake stuff to where they can de-age them. I forget what it's called. It's not a deep fake. I forget what the actual
the de-aging technology that they they
did
used
for
on Samuel L.
Downey.
Jackson for
Yeah, and Downey for
mm,
Civil War, I believe, was the one they did the aging on him for. So, you know, and hopefully the technology keeps up there. But yeah, that's where I'm thinking it's leading to is just the new Avengers, the new young crop
mm,
of Avengers, and that's one thing. And then also, um, you know, Agatha's is like if you look up Agatha's run in the comics, she's always been a tweener. Like she does she's your if you look up the definition of anti-hero, it is Agatha. Now the way it's presented in the show, she's horrible, right? Um and also too, I finally like I don't know if they did in WandaVision, but I also like how they finally said how, you know, if you her big special power is if you try and hurt her with power, she will suck you dry.
mhm.
And she never said. I don't think we ever got. We
I don't
saw
think we saw it, but we never got that was how she took people's power. We were just
right,
like, oh, she just takes people's power.
and that was the one sign of vulnerability. That's how she kind of won off of Jennifer Kale's
Hmm.
character over to join her. She's like, I'm telling you my deepest secret. So obviously, I need you.
I saw it. I saw it kind of like as a if you can control yourself and not blast me with your power, then then I won't steal your power. So there's nothing to lose on your end
Right.
because you're about to be evicted. So
But yeah, that's where I'm
join
thinking
me.
is we're going, and then also the Hulk son. Remember that at the end? I just now remember as that you got the Hulk son that they introduced at the end of She-Hulk. So we do have Scar, I believe his name is. I don't know. I'm getting all these characters mixed up.
Yeah.
But so you also, as far as the young Avenger or new Avenger, so you
Hmm.
have that. So I think that's where it's going. But I'm really interested to see if this show takes off of how much more Agatha is going to be centered around Agatha's character because Catherine Hahn pulls it off,
Yeah,
but
she
I just
pulls
don't
it
know.
off. Oh, go ahead.
No, I just don't know if how the rest of the audience is going to be like I want more. Whereas now, like they're worried about with X-Men, where it's like we got to put Wolverine in everything because he's the cash cow. We got to
Right.
put Iron Man in everything because he's the cash cow. Now we got to put Deadpool in everything because he's a cash cow.
Hmm.
I'm hoping that Agatha can get to a certain point to where they're feeling good enough to invest in more of her. Just because
Right.
Catherine Hahn does so well, and because and hopefully they've established her as an anti-hero to where you can have her be, the antagonist and also be a protagonist at the same time to where you can use that character in multiple ways and also just me being selfish and just want Catherine Hahn
Right.
to lead a movie.
I mean, she stole it in Step Brothers. Like she stole every scene that she was in, and she was
Yeah.
with Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly.
Oh,
And
Bad
she was
Moms, she's awesome.
yeah. But to me, I think that I have good hopes for the show. I think it's gonna be that weird, spooky vibe that is good for this time of year.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if Disney takes back of how they were like with Halloween Town and Hocus Pocus and those times when they're like, okay, we're gonna do a spooky show that kids can watch, and if they keep that vibe, I think we'll be good.
Yeah.
If they don't keep that vibe, I think it can go in a way that's not good.
Yeah. I just don't go full supernatural. Like, don't go
Yeah.
too. They jump the shark obviously, but they go super like people will die, type of thing, and it gets real. It gets real brutal.
Yeah.
And it's supernatural, even though it's a great show. But you kind of want to tone that back for a Disney for this type of way MCU is
And we want to
established.
keep the comedic chops of Catherine Hahn that
Exactly.
we've seen in these first two episodes. That like, there's moments of like, okay, that's scary, and there's moments where I am laughing because Catherine Hahn is just that funny. So the showrunners have said that this is the part 2 to WandaVision. Like it's a trilogy where WandaVision's part 1, this is part 2, and then part 3 is going to be the Vision Quest show if it ends up being called that. I think they've gone back and forth whether they're calling it Vision Quest or not. But it's going to be interesting how these 3 shows kind of line up with each other. We're already seeing the show line up with WandaVision, just with those characters in Westview showing back up. We got our girl Deborah Jo Rupp. So that's what intrigues me too, is that this is a part 2 of a story, but I want it to still be a contained story with a good ending. And Disney has not shown us that they're very good at an ending with their Disney Plus shows. So even though that there's going to be a part 3 with Vision Quest, just end it well, please. That's all I ask of you. As the beginning of this, that's literally all I ask, because I'm enjoying the show so much. So can you just end it well, so that way I can praise the show that you guys did? Like, that's all I ask of you, please.
Hey, you know how
Please.
you did Loki at the end of Loki season 1 and season 2? Do that. Because both of those endings, you left on a cliffhanger in season 1, and season 2 was a great, like, you kind of fixed stuff with also being developed stuff. And also, too, like you said, like the comedy bits. The two that I just loved so much was when she finally was going to go to Patty LuPone's character, and she was like, "Don't worry, I'll drive." And then she sits down. You can tell where she was like, "That's her car." And she goes, "Oh," and she's like, finally snaps out. She goes, "Oh, this is not a car." And like, but you at least see like that's where the car came from in her trance or whatever you want to call it, when she was under that spell. And then someone did point out that when she walks up to Herb at the beginning of the episode 1, that's his garden that she like walks up to. That's that caution.
The yellow line,
Yeah, that's actually his flowers. So I thought that was hilarious. Well, there. But then the other one was when they're in the car and he says something and she says something to him. He goes, "Oh, that's really good. I want to write that down. Can you grab that pen?" She goes, "Yeah." And she throws out the window and then she goes for the book. He goes, "No, I got it. I got it." Just, those little.
And then her southern accent with the gold bars, and then what's the other one? Oh, her writing on the thing goes, "Total loser," or "totally lying."
Yeah. And that's where I was saying, like, she was chewing the scenery, but it called for it. It wasn't like she was overacting. She was doing part of the show how some people like overact in those type of procedures.
Yeah, it was definitely playing off of the trope of how like those cop procedurals, like sometimes you're watching, you're like, yo, it's not that serious.
Right.
But her doing a spoof of it makes it funnier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then the whole like go home, when Chief was telling her, like go home, all that stuff. Just like all the little tropes that come into those typical procedural shows. So, so far, this is I'm enjoying myself. Like I said, I'm not like, oh, this is the greatest show ever, but I'm entertained. Catherine Hahn is awesome. So far so good. You got me. I'm excited to keep talking Agatha with you. I would say that much.
All right, Josh. Well, thank you so much for being on with me. Thank you guys all for watching. Remember to like and subscribe. And Josh, where can the people find you?
They can find me over at Ruckus Entertainment and Variety, and we can see all the fun stuff over there that we're doing. We're doing a lot more sports based, okay? But you're going to see me do a lot of nerdy references because, as you can tell in these reviews, my brain just travels, and it goes on
ADHD.
Places. Yeah, pretty much. But yes, on Mondays we have me and Tushka go over fantasy football. So any type of things that you all want to hear about as far as fantasy football goes, if you're in 72 leagues like myself, or just one and you want to know about lineups and what you should do or anything like that, tune in over there as we talk all that fun stuff there. On Tuesdays, me and a few of my buddies, we're playing Divinity Origin Sins Part 2, which is basically a D&D based video game. So we're playing that we do that on Tuesdays. So just come watch us stream and tell us how bad we are, and just watch us bicker about watch grown men bicker over a video game. That's what you're gonna do there. On Wednesdays, you will see myself and Soul go over the everything we call the sports wrap it up, or the Rev wrap it up, where we kind of go over all the world of sports that are existing, which is getting hot and heavy right now with with playoff baseball, the WNBA playoffs coming up, football, And then hockey's getting ready to start, and basketball is getting ready to start. Even though WNBA is wrapping up, and then it leads us into stuff. So it's the fall, so a lot of sports going out, and we also talk over the sports world stories. Some we might go over that are sensitive, and we understand that, but they need to be talked about. So we go over that there. And then on Thursdays, myself and Justin Toner talk about the world of wrestling in Ruckus Wrestling, which we talk, and we're also going live for Bad Blood PLE. So yeah, my face is on the internet a lot. I am off. I am no longer off the grid.
Yeah. So after you like and subscribe to Off the Wall, make sure to go over to Ruckus Entertainment and Variety and like and subscribe over there to watch that beautiful face and my beautiful face on Wednesdays. But for the rest of the week, it's mostly Josh.
Yeah, hey, it's fun to do.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
Peace.